Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us tonight for Wine, Eats, and Artifacts. You are guaranteed to be educated tonight in the great historical value of so many of our wonderful buildings here in the state of Idaho. We are here at the Idaho History Center, and I'm with Jan Gallimore, Executive Director and State Historic Preservation Officer. Thank you, Jan, for being here tonight.
Thank you, Larry.
Also, I'm with Jessica Anderson on the Board of Directors, of course, the Foundation for Idaho History. And again, we thank you all for being here tonight. We are here to raise money for a very important project, which I think everyone will enjoy. And it's all about Idaho's first public green space near the Idaho Assay Office. And we really could not be here tonight without the generous sponsors, including our presenting sponsor, Joyce Barnier and Bonnie Krupp. Thank you so much. Also, many thanks to Idaho Central Credit Union, LKV Architects, Marianne Arnold, Ernie and Carol Hoydel, and Evelyn and Robert Self. Thank you so much for your sponsorship and your care about the history of this great space. Don't forget, go to wea.afrogs.org for your opportunity to bid on the dozens of items that we have available for you. It's a whole lot of fun being able to shop online here at home, knowing that your money's going to a great cause and you don't have to stand in line anywhere. So it beats going to the mall, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, once again, we're here to support Idaho's first public green space, kind of a pocket park in downtown Boise, and we can't wait to show you some of the videos tonight. And while you're there at wea.afrogs.org, check out all the great items that are there, like item number 313, which is a private art tour of the state capitol. That sounds like would be a nice time to walk around with wine and eats and artifacts. Yes, I know there's some watch parties going on, including Hannah Laurie, our state historian. She's got the Junior League over tonight. So welcome, thank you for being here. We appreciate your support. And I'm just gonna start off with Jessica. Tell us about the accomplishments and achievements that have happened over the past decade or so. They are plentiful.
Well, this is our 13th annual Wine, Eats, and Artifacts event and our second virtual. Now, over the years, we've been able to do some amazing things and preserve some amazing pieces, one of which is the Idaho State Constitution. And this also helped to fund a replica of that Constitution, which is going to be traveling around the state with some very special programming in 2022. So that's something to look forward to. Another item of note would be Guard Tower 1 at the Old Pen, always a popular destination. And it's kind of that beacon as you are coming onto the Old Pen property that you see right there at the corner of the building. Construction on that is currently underway from last year's event. And again, thank you to everyone who helped make that happen and make that successful. We're so excited to see the finished product. You know, the relationship between the foundation and the Idaho State Historical Society is a very special one. The Idaho State Historical Society is funded partly by state funding, but it's also receives half of its sponsorships from private donors. So events like this really help to keep that programming that we love and to help restore artifacts and support the Idaho State Historical Society in their mission.
Fantastic. So the stewards of the money are doing wonderful things like the Guard Tower and like this project we're working on today. And again, you can help by going to wea.afrogs.org, make a pledge, or even think about buying one of these great benches or interpretive signs that we have. You can adopt a bench for $5,000. It can be under your company name, your family name, maybe a furry friend's name. Also, you can adopt an interpretive sign, of which there will be 9 throughout the park and 6 different benches. So take a look at those and perhaps feel good about making a gift toward those items. Once again, just wonderful project happening. And Just to get a better idea what the Assay Office is all about, Jen, can you tell us why is the Assay Office's national landmark status so important to us all here in Idaho?
Absolutely. Well, this takes a little context, which is what we do with Idaho history. So in 1860, gold was discovered in Idaho, in North Idaho, in the Salmon region, in the Boise region. In the next couple of years, of course, there were a big rush of miners and prospectors coming to make their riches in Idaho. And by 1866, Idaho was producing $52 million of gold a year. And that's pretty amazing, almost 20% of the gold revenues in the entire country. And so in order to make sure that that gold was weighed and measured and the ore, not just gold, but silver and other minerals, weighed and measured properly, it had to be done at the mint in California or in Denver. And this was the government's way of saying, wow, this is a really high producing area. We need a place here in Idaho that can serve as the official place for making sure that those minerals were taken care of and officially recognized. So then that kind of gives some sense to, that's the beginning of the territory. Lincoln penned Idaho Territory into existence in 1863. And then, you know, the state have developed since then, but the National Register status really relates to an honorific program of the National Park Service, which we partner with. It's called the National Register of Historic Places. National Landmarks as part of that program is a very rare, the highest designation that properties can receive in our country for recognition for their historical significance. Some 3,000 out of 90,000, so not very many properties reach national landmark status. And the Assay Office is one of 3 of such properties in Idaho. So there's the Cataldo Mission in Coeur d'Alene and the EBR1 experimental breeder 1 at INL associated with nuclear energy in the state. But this property, because of its mining heritage and its importance, not only at the state level and the regional level, but nationally, is our 3rd national landmark building that is a great honor for us to have in Idaho.
Wow, and that historical, the history of it alone is a good reason for us to do all we can to preserve it. And this update with the interpretive trail around the assay grounds will be really, really beneficial for generations to come, as it has been for several generations previously. Well, let's hear why this history is so relevant to us today.
Hello, everyone. We are standing in front of the U.S. Assay Office here in Boise. This is an amazing 150-year story of Idaho history. This building broke ground in 1870, and it was really amazing that the community came out in to support this government building because it was a symbol on the landscape of the importance of Boise as part of the new frontier. And people in our community, as part of the development of the site, donated the shrubs and the trees and the landscape to be part of this new government enterprise.
I want you to imagine Boise 150 years ago. I want you to imagine these streets not as they are today, but as they were in a time before we had all of the parks that we love today. This location here was considered the first public green space, and it allowed people to come together and be together in a way that was previously non-existent in the city.
So it's very obvious today, and if you look back through the historical records, that the grounds at the Assay Building have always been an extremely important and valued community space. There's not a day that goes by that you can't walk by this site and there aren't people using the picnic tables during lunch, or, you know, playing Frisbee. All of these things that are of value to people today on the site have been of value to people throughout its history. There are multiple images and photos in the records that show that 100 years ago, families were on the site having picnics, enjoying the flowers, doing these same sort of social things that are so important to building community.
The landscape here on the grounds of the U.S. Assay Office have, provided a place, of recreation and relaxation for Boiseans for 150 years now.
So when we started to look at how we wanted to do some of the refurbishments, really we looked to history in terms of sort of the plant material and what we wanted to see happen in the future. There are fortunately records that the State Historical Society has that give us a good idea of sort of the plant material that was here on site throughout history, the trees that were being used. And really, as we look to sort of the plant material, we want to be really conscious of how we are implementing these improvements to make sure that they're in keeping with the intent of this project and this site throughout its history.
We became a National Historic Landmark in 1966. And a National Historic Landmark is one of the top and highest designations of honor in our country for a building or site or landscape in terms of how it tells the American story.
So on top of being such an important national landmark, this is also a symbol of a community finding a beautiful way to come together. And we hope that it will continue to be that way with the preservation and restoration of this location.
And that's why I think that, doing this refurbishment project here at the Assay Grounds is just going to add to that experience and vitality of this really critical public space.
It gives us a great visual of why it's so important. Trees grow, right? And to be able to put a story in the form of interpretive signs, to learn about the history over the last 150 years on that space, and benches to sit and maybe reminisce about maybe our own history and when we first enjoyed that park. Don't forget, go to wea.afrogs.org and make a donation if you can, of any size. Every dollar makes a difference. And if you feel so inclined to adopt a bench, please do so. There will be a plaque on there with whatever name you would like to dedicate that bench to. And the same for the interpretive signs as well. So do spend a little time on there. We're going to keep the auction going through the 21st of October, which is a week from today. And then, of course, by law, of which we always obey, the wine has to close in 4 days on the 17th at 11:30 at night. So get your bids in on those as well. So many fun things happening. I would like to ask Jan too, we talk about the Assay Office being 150 years old. How does this building and its era connect to Idaho today?
Well, we all at the Idaho State Historical Society and the foundation, all of our partners in this history enterprise in our state always think about what makes history relevant. Why should anyone care about this building? Why should anyone care about the stories of the past? And I liken it to always thinking about we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. And again, the Assay Office was built during an era where the mineral wealth of the state was really driving the development of the state and bringing people here. Lincoln penned us into territoryhood in 1863. And this would have been the first governmental building, the first major downtown building. And so it really attracted business, it attracted people to come. And then as we think about the other things that were happening during the territory, because it was really the formation of the formal government and infrastructure that we know that began the state officially, if you will. So Lincoln had to appoint the first judges and the first officials. It was when the school systems was created, the post offices, the infrastructure that we think about today. And as we think about those elements and how that really helped to develop our state, we connect to the state today. And of course, as we think about the Homestead Act that Lincoln penned that brought people here, the Morrill Act that created the land-grant universities, and that's how the University of Idaho is here. So those things that we know today we take for granted, like driving on the highways or mailing our mail, really began and formed out of that era. And it was really, this building symbolizes the sort of formation of the state into its formal place that it grew into today.
Sure. So it wasn't potatoes that brought people to Idaho, it was really gems.
Well, that potatoes came later, but they're important too.
Yes, they are. Don't forget wea.afrogs.org. But let's find out why it's so important that we support this project now and do this next video. Why now?
This project is amazingly relevant today as it was 150 years ago when the community came together to create this important block in our state.
The site is incredibly visible. It's one of the most unique places in downtown Boise, and I think that the average citizen, certainly those who walk and drive and bike near this site, will immediately connect the importance of this place and the importance of our reinvestment in this place.
As Boise, continues to develop and becomes more urban in character, these small, intimate pocket parks and small green spaces are going to become so important to the community that's immediately around this area. There's an interesting mix here, of sort of those historic homes and businesses that are still here, but then, we do have modern development that's coming in. And this park is going to serve sort of all of those user groups right here near where they live, work, and hopefully play.
I think that we've all found over the last couple years that it is more and more important to find ways to connect with one another in the outdoors. And I think that this has also made us a lot more appreciative of the public green spaces that we do have in Boise. And we're so lucky to have so many beautiful spaces. But this specific location at the State Historic Preservation Office has long been, has a beautiful tradition of being one of those special open spaces in our city.
For local Boiseans who are walking by this building or driving by this building every day, the building does offer sort of an attractive place to stop and relax or learn a little bit of history. It's not just a historic building with a half a dozen people inside of it. It's a living, breathing place, and I think Boiseans appreciate it, and I think they'll appreciate the work that we're doing to reinvest, and I think it's likely that they'll want to contribute to that investment.
And what we're really looking to do today is give it this restored sense of dignity and really bring back some of the beauty that has always existed here on site.
The grounds need investment. They need work done on the trees, on the grounds themselves, and frankly, we need to provide more access for the public.
And those folks in 1870 who came together to help make this landscape possible left it to all of us in the future to carry on their legacy and their concern and their love for Boise and its downtown and this very important site. So we're so excited that everyone join us in preserving our history and sharing our story, because we're proud of our state and especially proud of this building and this site at this moment in time.
Very true. It has taken care of us in so many ways for 150 years. It's exciting to even think about seeing what's going to happen in the next 150 years. So thanks for that. Really great explanation. Don't forget, you can support this project by going to wea.afrogs.org and make a bid on any one of the dozens of wonderfully donated items by local service providers and retailers. Also, there are benches, a total of 9, or excuse me, we have 6 benches and 9 interpretive signs, all available for adoption tonight and through the 21st of next week. So, Jessica, tell us more about this particular project that we're here for tonight.
Well, before I do that, I want to make sure that I say hello to everyone who's watching from across the state. And, you know, if you're not as familiar with Boise, we can tell you a little bit more about where this facility is. So the U.S. Assay Office, where the State Historic Preservation Office is currently located, is in downtown Boise, on the block bordered by Main, 2nd, Idaho, and 3rd Streets. And, you know, it's a beautiful open site, a lot of trees that have reached kind of the end of their natural life. And we want to, and a lot of, you know, bushes and landscaping that could use a little TLC.
And that's a big safety concern too.
Oh,
with the age of those
absolutely.
trees.
Yes, and while some of them have already been removed due to safety reasons, we need to make sure that we're trying to preserve what we can, while also keeping in mind the safety of folks who come and use the space. As I said in a previous video, it's just a great place that people connect. I mean, as we were out filming this video, I mean, there were people walking their dogs, you know, families that are walking through, people riding their bikes, and you can just tell that it's a space that means something to the nearby community, which makes it all the more valuable as something that we can preserve for the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jan, I understand that there are things known as a SHPO office in every state in our union. What is the role of the SHPO office and what is the SHPO office?
Well, this is one of the things that we'll hope people know more about as part of this project, because that will also be communicated in the interpretive walkway. But the State Historic Preservation Office houses our State Historic Preservation Office staff. And there is a State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO, in every state and in every territory. And they really fulfill, in my view, one of the most important aspects of our country's law, and that is the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. And that was the first time in United States history when our government made a declaration that it would be the policy of the United States government to protect its cultural and archaeological resources, its buildings, and that law encompasses those things, plus places of cultural patrimony, and really set up a standard by which those things had to be considered as part of the important parts of American history. So what our staff does is they consult with federal agencies who might be doing projects on federal land or with big federal investment that might have impact on cultural resources. And so federal agencies need to consult with our staff, because what our staff does, and what I think is fabulous about SHPOs across the country, is they bring that local expertise, that local knowledge of the history of their community. And so that really we give local voice to federal decision-making, but our staff does so much more than that, because they maintain records of historic places all over the state, and that many of you might have your homes on the National Register of Historic Places. Our staff manages that program here at the local level. And that is really a great way for people to honor their property, and then also get, frankly, incentives. If you have a commercial property that is historic in nature, you can get a tax incentive to help invest in that. Our staff also helps private sector, not only public folks, but private sector folks help to invest in their properties appropriately. And they know the Secretary of Interior standards, and they're very helpful. They also work with tribes all over the state to make sure that tribal history in our state is cared for and preserved. And they really have their eyes to across the whole state in terms of what resources need help. We pass through some of our grant money that we receive from the government to be able to serve the local community. So we pass through nearly $100,000 of funding to rural communities across the state to help with local historic preservation projects. So they are really a great team, highly credentialed, and that's what they do. And so what we're really excited about is that this team actually works in one of the 3 landmark buildings in our state. So that's beautiful symmetry for our state to not only be part of this historic preservation enterprise for our state and for our nation, but they work in a landmark building. So that is quite lovely. And we're extremely proud of the work that they do, and it's legacy work that the entire agency does. Our Idaho State Historical Society is one of 20 states in the country that has what we call a full purpose sort of portfolio, where we oversee the State Museum, the State Archives, the State Historic Preservation Office, and historic sites. So it is quite an honor for us to be the stewards of the legacy of the people who were here for 140 years before us.
Yes, yes, that's a big job
It is
and a
big
lot of
job.
responsibility.
Yes.
Well, let's take a look at why we're all so excited about this project.
I am so excited that you're all able to join us for Wine Eats and Artifacts. You know, usually at Wine Eats and Artifacts, we're able to restore an actual artifact, you know, something you can hold in your hands. And that's always something that's really exciting when you can see history being preserved. But we hope that the preservation of the landscaping here at the State Historic Preservation Office will be an artifact that you can hold in your heart. And we really believe that this is a gem in the community, and it is something that's going to be celebrated and honored for years to come.
Well, what I love about this project is the idea of landmark. I mean, it's such an interesting metaphor if you think about it. It's a national landmark in terms of the criteria that it has set forth in our country for historic preservation. But it's a landmark in our city, and it's a landmark for our team. I mean, this is one of our most amazing, beautiful buildings that are part of our portfolio.
Well, I think that the most exciting element has to be our intent to invest in an interpretive pathway that will allow the public to better understand the history, the architecture, and the value of this site. Something that is only minimally available right now. If you can't enter the building, if you come to the site after business hours and you can't speak to anyone, these interpretive signs and the pathway on which they'll sit will be the first time that the public has access to this information in a real direct way. So I'm excited about that. It's something that we've talked about for a long time. I have to say, I'm also very excited just on the idea of replanting and reinvestment in the mature landscaping that we have.
But again, the building is a symbol. But if people don't know what that symbol means, then they won't really be able to connect with it. And so the landscaping, the interpretive trail, the interpretive signage, giving people a window into what does a landmark mean officially, and then what does a landmark mean to them. Because all of us carry, I think, connecting measures with us in our hearts about how we're connected to our family, how we're connected to our community, and how we're connected to our state. And these landmarks give us points in time and points in memory that connect us deeply to our story.
But it's great that we're going to finally put some real effort back into replanting and taking our role of stewardship here of the grounds as seriously as they deserve. And plenty of people use this site, and I think they'll be excited to see that reinvestment as well.
What excites me the most about this project is that I know that I am contributing to something that has been here for 100 years and will be here for more than 100 more years. And it's really something that will be enjoyed and loved by the community in the future as it was in the past. And it's somewhere that I can take my kids and help them to learn about our history through this landscape.
I couldn't agree with Christopher more. You know, we want this project to take place and it's a wonderful improvement on the grounds and a historical tour of our own area. But like Christopher said, we can take our kids there. We can enjoy a lunch there on a picnic table. It's really for all of us. And that's what it all comes down to. And really want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight and for your support. Once again, tell all your friends, wea.afrogs.org, and there you'll find a few dozen wonderful items that you can shop for. holiday gifts, whatever it happens to be, but know that all that money is supporting this great project. So we can't do wine, eats, and artifacts without wine. So cheers to a successful fundraising event we have through next Thursday at 11:30 p.m. You can keep on bidding until then, and do think about getting together with some friends, maybe and adopting a park bench or an interpretive sign, and know that you've preserved a piece of history here in Boise for all of us to enjoy.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yes.
Yeah. Anything else we should talk about? The foundation
Yes.
itself, the importance of the foundation could not be possible without the work of the foundation.
Well, I think like what you just mentioned, the idea that this event tonight is about people helping people, and that's exactly what the Foundation for Idaho History is. It is a statewide organization of passionate individuals who want to support the Idaho State Historical Society's mission. And as a result, we have events such as this. We have other fundraising opportunities to preserve and promote the Historical Society's mission. And we want to make sure that we thank the board members who helped support make this event possible today. We want to thank the chairperson for the Wine, Eats, and Artifacts Committee, Dixie. Here's to you. And of course, the great staff at the Idaho State Historical Society. We could not do this without them as well.
Well, it's a great partnership with our amazing Foundation for Idaho History, who's done so much for Idaho and our agency. I also want to do a shout out to everyone who contributed auction items. So please do go visit that website and notice who contributed, because we have contributors to those auction items from all over the state. The Idaho State Historical Society is a statewide agency. Our portfolio of work really touches every community, and the community across the state came out really to support this event. So please do notice that all of those contributions came from throughout our great state. Also, please share this video, share this information with your social media connections and with your colleagues and your friends. Please help us build the Idaho State Historical Society family. We don't do this work alone. We have to do it in partnership with colleagues, with organizations, and with partners such as yourself and donors who help make this work happen. So we're really grateful for everyone being part of our team and part of this amazing history enterprise, which preserves and promotes our story, the past, looking at the present and into the future. And it's a great legacy that we all leave to the people of the future because of working together.
To that,
Cheers.
cheers, everyone. Thank you.